Hi, this is session 3 of the Revelation Success Series. What today we're going to be talking about is leading up to doing the open house and prepping before it, what needs to be done and things of that nature. Let's first start out with when do you do open houses? What days? The first thing I think I'm going to say is any day is good for an open house. Typically your better days are going to be Saturday and Sundays. Fridays are pretty good days, but if you have nothing going on during the week, grab an open house to do.
We also have to talk about how long do you do an open house?
Yeah. Well, I mean, watch this, guys. If it's a vacant home, do it as long as you want. We used to do open houses from
The
9
time we
o'clock,
can get in
time we get in
till dark.
till dark. I know some people say, oh, stay there for 2-4 hours. My mentality is if I'm going to be out there and I'm going to put out the signs and I'm going to put a lot out, which we'll talk about, stay there as long as you can. Now, obviously, if somebody lives in the home, they might not want you out there all day long. So, time-wise...
And if you really don't have, if you have like only a 2-hour gap in your day and you think, well, 2 hours isn't really long enough to do an open house. If you don't have anything else that you should be doing, then sure, go do an open house for a couple hours, but don't limit yourself to 2 or 4 hours just because you think that's all the longer you should be there.
Here's the point to it. Just get out and do open houses, stop overanalyzing it and do it. What do you do prior to an open house? Well, there are some things we could do to make a more successful open house.
Open house is basically a passive prospecting method in that you're sitting there waiting for people to walk through the door, but there are things that you can do to make it more proactive. And one of those things is when you're creating your open house flyer, make sure your database knows that you're having an open house. So send that open house flyer to your database and announce that you're about to have an open house. First of all, it shows that you're working, and second of all, they may know somebody or they may be interested in coming and actually visiting the open house.
Yeah, so which would lead to the flyers. Either you can create one in the Shopper Agent if you have a Shopper Agent account, or speak to Nicole at Magnus Title, and she'll help you out with flyers.
The other thing that you really want to consider doing before an open house is walking neighborhoods. This was hugely successful for Chuck and for me when we were doing real estate together. Walking neighborhoods and inviting people to the open house. But the thing to remember when you're doing that, you don't want to just hand an invitation and say, hey, come to my open house. That would be a waste, really kind of a waste of your time. Not only do you want to invite them, but you want to make sure it leads into, are you looking to buy or sell? Do you know anybody who is looking to buy or sell, and will you work with me?
And one more thing you could even say is, would you like to know what your home is worth? So there are some cool little tips to building a little bit of a rapport when you're door knocking. It's very simple, guys. Don't let this thought process that door knocking is this horrible thing. People really don't mind if you're knocking on their door, as long as you're not early in the morning or late at night.
And you'll learn a lot about door knocking in another one of your training sessions. We'll go into more detail then.
The other thing with open houses is get signs. Yes, we have signs for you to utilize, but we really recommend that you get signs. If I was out buying signs, I'd buy at least 10 to 12 signs. That's kind of what you want out there. We also recommend the big billboard signs. Company Fast Signs has them. If you want more details on the billboard signs and the design of them, you can either contact me or Mindy, and we'll get you that information.
And those are just larger signs, correct?
Yeah, very easy to carry, lightweight, and they're not hot in the summertime, so highly recommend those.
So the other thing while we're on the topic of signs is when you place your signs, this is a really important thing to get good at. Not only do you want to use enough signs, but where you place them matters. So here are a few tips of where to place signs. Make sure you put enough signs so that anyone who is following those signs could easily find your open house. If there's too much of a gap between the signs, people lose interest or they think they're lost and they stop looking for your house.
Yes. Also, don't put them on busy intersections or islands. They will be confiscated by the city. So if you are going to put a sign on somebody's lawn on a corner maybe, make sure you knock on their door and ask for permission. Let them know you're doing an open house today. May I put a sign out on the corner of your property? People really like that you do that. Plus, it's another way for you to get in front of people.
It's very professional.
Yeah, very professional. It goes a long way. Just don't put it out there, guys. You're going to piss a lot of people off, and they do grab your signs and throw them out.
It's true. then they claim they didn't.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind when you're placing signs, don't put the sign just past where they should have turned. If you're going to put one past the turn, also put one before. That might just kind of stand out where you're supposed to turn. People be confused. We see that all the time. The sign is placed after you're supposed to turn. That doesn't make any sense.
The other thing you want to do is, when you put a sign up near a turn, look to see what's in front of it. There's a lot of times there's bushes in front of it. And it might be a big opening where you have that sign, but as people are driving up to it, they can't see that sign. So be very cognizant of your sign placement. Also, you can look on a map of the area. There might be different ways to bring people into that open house that might even be easier that you can do that. So guys, put a little thought into how you're doing your signage, your sign placement, and putting a bunch of them out there.
One more tip, when you're actually physically placing your signs, you want to start at the farthest point away from your house and then place the signs toward the house. If you start with one right in front of the house and then go put out other signs, it's possible that somebody will be knocking on your door looking when you're not there yet.
Yeah, the other thing that, I think we started off on putting the signs, but let's also look back at how do you find an open house to set. Being here at the office, we've got hundreds of properties. You can look in the MLS. If you go under office member and look under our company and go view listings, you'll see all of our company listings. Call the agents up and ask if you could sit the houses. Yes, there are some agents that won't let you sit their houses, especially ones who run teams, because they leave them for their team members. But call the agents up, ask if you could sit an open house, tell them when you want to sit it, and be very respectful to that agent. If you're going to sit an open house, make sure you show up to sit the open house. Also, when you leave the open house, and there's a homeowner that lives there, don't give them feedback if they're home when you're done.
That's a bad idea.
If they ask you how'd the open house go, here's what you say to them. Say, I'm going to contact your agent. I'll give them all the information, and they'll get a hold of you. Then get a hold of the agent. If they're not home when you leave, write them a nice little note, thanking them for being there, saying that their agent will contact them.
And then actually tell the agent the feedback so that they can give their client the feedback.
Always be very professional, guys. I'm thinking of the open house. Is there any other tips?
No, just make sure to watch the other session video on the other open house video that we have provided for you.
But I do want to add one more thing. If it is your listing, get little sign writers. If you're going to do an open house on the weekend, put the little sign writer out the beginning of the week saying open Saturday from 12 to 4, or whenever you're going to have it open. What it does is it starts advertising the open
That's a
house
great idea.
before the open houses. So guys, thank you for watching. Plug into the rest of the training tips. Watch it over and over, guys, so you make sure you get this down pat, and that way you become good, successful agents.
Thank you so much for watching, and God bless you guys.
God bless you.